The spring game is around the corner for Michigan State. What is the format going to be, and what are the top 5 storylines we are looking for? But first, that's right, Tyson Walker is back. Let's go!
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, welcome to another show of Locked On Spartans, your team in green and white, 5 days a week here in the Locked On Podcast Network. We're thrilled. We're jazzed. We're excited. We are starting off this week as a Spartan family that is very happy because, well, Tyson Walker, he is coming back to Michigan State basketball, making Michigan State a national title contender. That's right. It's time to set those expectations right there on the top shelf where they usually are for Michigan State basketball because, oh boy, this is a big addition for next year's team. Before getting to the meat of that, though, hey, please rate, review, and subscribe to this here podcast or YouTube channel. Any way you are digesting this show, hey, thank you so much. Really do appreciate you. And we also appreciate Tyson Walker for coming back to Michigan State for his senior season, of course, was a dynamite player throughout all of last year, especially at the end of the year. And we're going to start this conversation on a different route. We're going to talk about what it means for him to come back. But what would this team have looked like had he not announced his return to Michigan State? Because I think that's a good way to start, just seeing how much he means to this team. Because next year, without Tyson Walker, we're looking at AJ Hoggard at the 1, Jaden Akins at the 2, and then at the 3, Cohen Carr, Garrett Norman, or maybe even Malik Hall as well. At the 4, Malik Hall, Cohen Carr, Xavier Booker, any one of those 3 guys. And then at the 5, Mady Sissoko, Jackson Kohler, Carson Cooper. The return didn't really matter with the 4 and the 5s, but I digress. It would have been a fine team, but you would have been relying on some, big freshman minutes there at the 3, whether it be Garrett Norman, Cohen Carr, or, if you do want to slide Malik Hall up to the 3 and have Booker start at the 4, well, then you're asking for big freshman minutes at that 4 position as well. Also, with the guard lineups, you might have lineups at the 1 and the 2 with Hoggard and Fears on the court at the same time. And, well, Hoggard's got solid offense, not really much of a shooter, but he can get it done his own way. Fears' offense and his shooting ability still has to be seen. I mean, we've heard and seen, some good progress from his junior year to his senior year in high school. Clearly good enough to be a McDonald's All-American, but still, you feel a lot better with a guy that has the offense that Tyson Walker has. So let's just go into it. What does this mean that he is now returning for his senior year officially? On barttorvik.com. That's right. This is the website we reference all the time. I'll try to drop it in the YouTube description. You're going to count on me remembering to do that, that is. But before Tyson announced his comeback, Bart Torvik, through the average of your defensive efficiency and your offensive efficiency on the team, MSU would have been the number 19 going into next season. Now with Tyson Walker, Michigan State, the number 6 team, according to Bart Torvik. That is just one of 3 Big Ten teams that are sitting inside the top 25. Purdue is at 16. That is assuming Zach Edey comes back. And then Wisconsin is actually the other team. They're sitting at 21. MSU will be sitting squarely inside of a lot of preseason top 10 polls. Dare I say top 5 polls for the AP poll, USA Today poll, once those come out. And if you're a gambler, if you like those numbers as well, Michigan State actually moved up from 16-1 to win the whole national title to 15-1. That is the 3rd best odds in the country. That is tied with Houston and Kentucky. Duke has the 2nd best odds, and then UConn, the reigning national champs, they have the best odds overall. But yes, that's what happens when you add a guy back to your team that is a 45% shooter from the field, a guy that is a career 39.4% from 3. He doubled his shots per game last year. Maybe a little on the timid side in his first year with Michigan State. Last year, we really saw a rise in his aggressiveness to shoot the ball, and it paid off in spades for Michigan State and for him as well. His field goal percentage at the rim went from 44% that first year at Michigan State to 56% a 12% rise at finishing at the rim. Also on other twos, like those world-famous lawn twos that we all know and love, his first year at State, 37%. Last year, 44% on those lawn twos. And also, this is just off the box score completely. This is intangibles, but we have seen this guy show up in a lot of big games. Now, unfortunately, the two biggest games last year, the at Iowa game and then the home game against top 5 ranked Purdue, they ended in losses, but he still had 30 or more points in those games. He absolutely blew up in the Marquette game with, I believe, 23 points. But yeah, when the time calls for a big performance from someone, it has been Tyson Walker more times than not. So you get a fearless guy back in the wings there, literally. So what does this mean for the rest of the team as well? Because let's go to a question that is on probably a lot of people's minds right now. I think the screen just went black. Yeah, okay, we're back. There we go. We're cooking with oil over here. Sink Jewel writes the question that everyone has asked themselves at least once, perhaps this offseason. And they asked this question at lockedonspartans@gmail.com. Hey, Matt, love the show as always. Great to see Walker back. However, some speculation that Akins might not be happy. I highly doubt that he will transfer, but let's just say he does. Would you rather have another year of Walker and no Akins, or no Walker and 2 years of Akins? And then also, second question, how many United Wholesale Mortgage commercials is Walker going to be in next year? Actually, no commercials. Tyson Walker is just going to have the logo tattooed on his forehead, actually, for all the games, is the report that I've heard. But no, I'm interested to see if we ever find out how much NIL played a factor here, because it is different NIL from college basketball to football, but it'd be naive to think that it wasn't a factor at all. So let's get to the Jaden Akins conversation, because we've talked about this time and time again on this podcast as we meandered into this offseason of what would Tyson Walker's return do for Jaden Akins, because Akins kind of maybe wants to play more of the 2 role, but he's at the 3, maybe a little off position for his liking. But from everything I've heard from people that know people in the program, they expect Akins to return. It is expected that Akins will return for the next upcoming season. Now, of course, I'm not contrary to popular belief. I'm not overly naive. I'm not stupid. Like, I know that anything can happen at any time, and a lot of it may be lip service, but from people really in the know, they do expect Akins to return next year, even with this news. So because I think it really helped too that Akins ended his season in 5 of his last 7 games. I mean, he got to take double-digit shot attempts. I mean, he saw his usage go up throughout the year last year. So hopefully it proved to him that, yes, between Hogard and Walker and you, Mr. Jaden Akins, we can make this work, and you guys will be carrying the bulk of the offensive load going into next season. So that's just, the whispers I've heard. And also, I mean, you kind of saw it play out there at the end of the year. Akins did get to have some solid production as well, playing that 3 spot. But let's go back to Sink Jewel's question. Let's answer the question. Let's say that, hey, Akins did leave this offseason. Like we just talked about, Michigan State is the number 6 team right now. If you take him out, they would be the 7th team in the country. So still really good. I mean, so right now, maybe I'm just prisoner of the moment. But yeah, I think I would go with that 1 year of Tyson Walker, just because we are really knowing what we are getting with him. And let's say that you want to do the 2 years of Jaden Akins. Okay, well, let's take Walker off this team. You drop from 6 to 9. So you're still going from a top 10 team, But hey, I mean, it is nice looking at even next year. I mean, the following season after this, should Akins stay for 2 years, of Jeremy Fears at the 1, Jaden Akins at the 2, Garrick Norman, maybe Kurt Tang or Cone Carr at the 3, Xavier Booker perhaps at the 4 if he comes back, and then Jackson Cole or Carson Cooper at the 5. So any way you slice it, next 2 years will be looking pretty okay for Michigan State, but we are happy that it is looking very solid right now with the return of Tyson Walker. That's one big domino that has fallen in this offseason. We're waiting for Malik Hall's decision, whether he's going to announce this week or not. I've heard that is expected to hear his decision at some point this week. But again, it's college sports. Anything can happen at any given moment. So stay tuned for that. We are going to flip things over to the football field in a hot second. But first, need to talk all your ears off. about FanDuel Sportsbook, America's #1 sportsbook in the land. That's right. And it is a wonderful time to get in on the action. There's NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, PGA season is rolling in strong, but also MLB season. It's a long season, gang, especially if you're like me. If you're a Tigers fan, you got to spice this up somehow, and the best way to spice it up is at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can step up to the plate with a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon, sign up, place your first bet, and get a $1,000 bonus bet back if you don't win. Up to $1,000, that is. Do not miss your chance to get in on that no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. It's FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball. Now let's switch it up. We're going to go to the football field. That's right. And hey, maybe you will be going to a football field this Saturday for Michigan State's open spring practice, kind of, sort of, somewhat game. I don't think that's the official name for it, but that's what we're going to call it, for lack of a better term. It was talked about at the press conference today with Mel Tucker of what they are expecting out of this spring game coming up. It will be televised. Big Ten Network, of course, but hey, go there for free. 2 p.m. is when this thing is going to start. Gates open at 12:30. But anyway, let's cut to the chase here. This is a tweet from, this is from a story. I'm mixed up in my own notes here. This is from a story from on3.com. This is a quote from Mel Tucker, and it's going to be a modified practice with a scrimmage aspect. So no, unfortunately, it's not going to be a full-blown game. And I know that's what a lot of us were hoping for. I was hoping for that as well, but no, it will be a practice, but with some scrimmage involved. And this quote gives some excitement to that format here. Quote, "It will be up-tempo. It will be organized. We'll get a chance to see guys play fast and see players go good on good, ones on ones, twos on twos, which is really how we practice pretty much every day. So you get a chance to see guys grind and kind of compete and see some of the new guys that you haven't seen go full speed. So I think that will be good." Also, went on to say that defensive line could be an issue, like the offensive line was last year. They didn't have enough offensive line bodies to do a spring game last year. And he kind of hinted at, we don't have enough defensive linemen to split it up into two teams. But like, I question if that's just honest, or like, Mel, you could just tell us that you don't want to do a spring game. Like, you're a very secretive man. Like, a player can have both his legs chopped off in the middle of a game on national television, and the next press conference will just be, yeah, he's sore. Like, it's very close to the chest, and I don't mind that at all personally, but like, just be honest with us. Like, of course we're not going to do a spring game. We're going to do a spring practice, but I don't hate that format. I think there is a little excitement there in the 1s versus 1, the 2s versus 2s, and all that fun stuff. I do wonder how long that portion of the practice will be, but again, it's going to be a 75 and sunny day at Spartan Stadium. You get to see how the sausage is made in a real practice format. And then, just like Mel Tucker said, some 1s versus 1s and 2s versus 2s, and get to see some guys that you haven't really seen before. And yeah, if you're in the area, if you got time to burn up this weekend, if you want to go support the guys, I would still highly recommend it. We'll get into more of the festivities there later on and top 5 storylines, but just wanted to fill in a few more quotes from the press conference. Nothing too shocking, but there are one important tidbit to get to. Mel Tucker acknowledged the Saeed Khalif departure. He was, of course, the head of all things recruiting at Michigan State, and says that MSU is, quote, in the process of filling the open recruiting position. So nothing new there. So that's the sizzle on the steak right there. And also when it comes to the spring practice as well, and not just, going on Saturday, but as we go into the off season, eventually fall camp as well, and how this depth chart is going to shake out. And also, namely, the quarterback battle as well. This is a tweet from Chris Solari of the Free Press. Tucker on young players versus more experienced guys. Quote, "I tell players, if you're good enough, you're old enough." Says if it's even between two players, he could go with both if it gives MSU the best chance to win. Quote, "We didn't bring guys to sit. We bring them to play." So is he saying that we're going to roll into fall with a two-headed quarterback monster? I have no idea, but yeah, I think Tucker's also proven that time and time again that just because you're the older guy doesn't mean you automatically get the starting role there. It is best man wins, best man plays. So yeah, that's some more excitement going into Saturday as well to see if anyone's going to inch up the depth chart. Again, gates open this Saturday, 12:30 p.m. There's going to be pictures on the field. Yes, you can get to go on the field before the game. There will be games in the concourse. You got the Izzo 5K earlier that day if you want to get some cardio on. And like I said, this weather is going to be beautiful. 75 and sunny is what they are expecting. So let's get to our top 5 Tuesday segment of the week. If you've been following this off season, first of all, thank you very much. Really do appreciate you. Second of all, yeah, we're going to be doing top 5 Tuesday throughout the offseason. The first one was top 5 most devastating things you could say after a tough loss. The second one last week with Connor George, the top 5 best things about being an MSU basketball walk-on. That was a hoot and a half. Love doing that one with Connor George. And this one, yeah, it's going to be more topical to the spring game, the top 5 storylines going into Saturday's spring football palooza bonanza. And number 1, actually, you know what? Hold on. No. We're slamming on the brakes right now. Before we get into the top 5, let's just be clear of what we are not going to get on Saturday. Okay, we're going to just give everyone the heads up that don't expect anything like this. You're not going to know who the starting quarterback is going to be on Saturday. I know Mel Tucker just said that it is going to be ones versus ones, so the starting offense versus starting defense. I would bet a substantial amount of money and my entire life that he is going to be intermixing the quarterbacks throughout that scrimmage. You're going to see Hauser get a few snaps, Thorne get a few snaps, Kim get a few snaps with the ones, so to speak. I don't think he's going to tip his hand in spring practice. This is going to go into the fall camp. And with that said, I don't think that we're necessarily going to find out who the starting running back is guaranteed, or who that third receiver is going to be. I still think that they're in the testing period, because it's not like that Central Michigan game is in 2 weeks. I mean, you have a few months, so why not drag this out as far as you possibly can? So I don't think that we're going to get a lot of groundbreaking stuff like that. So with that said, all right, now that we got that squared away, let's go to storyline number 1 we are excited to see. Heck, you know what? It's still going to be the quarterbacks anyway. I still am excited to see the quarterbacks, even if it's not going to be a clear-cut answer of, hey, Hauser's your starter, or, yep, Thorne, you got the starting job. Like, no, I am thrilled to do what everyone else is going to do this Saturday, whether it be watching at Big Ten Network or watching at Spartan Stadium, and that is over-analyzing and scrutinizing every single throw that is made by these 3 quarterbacks. This is the storyline of the offseason, and a lot of it has been done behind closed doors. The only thing that we have gotten is little clips on social media and then some sound bites coming from media availability. So, yes, to see these guys throw the ball for an hour or 2 on Saturday, very exciting. Also, get to see Katin Hauser's arm strength potentially. Yes, he played very, very, very sparingly last year, so we didn't get to see the full Katin Hauser package of why this kid came in here as a highly touted 4-star quarterback. So, hopefully we can see that arm talent as well. Of course, you can never get tired of seeing what Noah Kim can do. And yeah, hey, Payton Thorne, we're told that, he has another gear to hit. He has more ceiling to hit. Let's see if we could find any of that in an hour and a half or 2 hours on Saturday. It is going to be so much fun. So much fun overreacting to every single throw with the rest of you guys after this Saturday. So storyline number 2 is, whose offensive line is it anyway? We talked about that you're probably not going to see a starting quarterback named. You're probably not going to see this third receiver named or the starting running back named, but I think that we can actually get pretty close to what the offensive line will look like. And that's because it's more concrete than it would be for many other programs that had a lot of turnover. You have Brandon Baldwin, left tackle, you can presume. In the middle, J.D. Duplain, Nick Samet, Keyshawn Blackstock, and Spencer Brown. Or will it be? Maybe. Hey, Keyshawn Blackstock gets kicked out to the outside at right tackle. So does that move? As Chase Glasser of Spartans Illustrated the other week suggested, maybe Spencer Brown goes into the inside actually. Or maybe it's going to be one of these other younger kids like Christian Phillips or Gino Vandemark, I hear, is on schedule so far. Will he be kicked to the inside? And will Spencer Brown play more of a backup left tackle and right tackle role? I think just the dynamic of what we can see from the offensive line will be interesting, because what we've heard about Keyshawn Blackstock going in is that, yeah, he can play anywhere on this line. So let's see if there's any hand tipped coming up this Saturday. But yeah, you make hay in the trenches in football. So yeah, the offensive line is going to be very important moving forward. And also, how do the young guys look in that 2 deep as well. What we talked about, Christian Phillips, Gino Vandenmark, who I guess I can't really call a young guy anymore. He has been here for a little bit, but Ashton Lepo, Braden Miller, guys like that, because look, the twos going against the twos is going to be pretty exciting to watch as well. We are starved for football. So yeah. Also, number 3, the third storyline we are looking for at the spring practice is just watching those transfers. And we're talking about the big guns like Tumise Adeleye. How does he look? Is he going to be playing in the inside of that line? Will he have him on the edge? My guess is that they'll mix it up a little bit, and I would not mind seeing a few reps of Adeleye versus Keyshawn Blackstock as well. 2 of the biggest additions, if not the 2 biggest additions of this offseason, battling it out against each other, whether it be a scrimmage format, just individual drills. But yeah, I'm excited to see those 2 guys go at it this weekend. Also, Nathan Carter, Jaron Mangum, those 2 running backs, just excited to see if they're going to give us any hope early on for Michigan State's power run game, because as we've talked up and down in this podcast for the last few weeks, MSU really struggled in a lot of key stats when it came to 3rd and short, 4th and short, just getting 2 yards when you need it. You got 2 big bodies in Nathan Carter, a guy that loves powering through contact, and then also Jaron Mangum. Hey, let's see if we can start putting proof to that starting this Saturday. Also, hey, you know what? Let's go away from the offense and defense for a little bit. I just want to see Jonathan Kim kick a few field goals. I will not stop crying about field goal kicking until I am proven otherwise. But yeah, the North Carolina transfer, a kid that really hasn't kicked a lot of field goals in his college career, who transferred to a program where you do have an opportunity to kick field goals. Well, let's start seeing them made on Saturday, because I can't do what we did last year, and I don't think you guys can either. The number 4 storyline, number 4 thing we are looking for at spring practice is those 2022 kids, and we saw a good deal of them last year, for better or more often for worse last year, because they played because everyone on the field was getting hurt every 6th play, it felt like. But still, you guys know some of the names like Dylan Tatum, Jaden Mangum, but also let's talk about the kids that we really didn't get to see a lot of last year, like Caleb Coley, for example, at cornerback. Once again, we're going to go into this season with the secondary being a big question mark and with a lot of eyeballs on them. So Caleb Coley is supposed to be a beacon of light for this young group. So if we could just start seeing a few solid reps out of him on Saturday, that would mean the world to us going into the summer. Alex Van Sumeren didn't get to play a ton last year through injury, and also just, well, the depth on the defensive line. It was pretty healthy last year. Jack Nickel, the tight end, there is a change into the guard at tight end. We no longer have Tyler Hunt. Yes, Malik Carr is expected to be that number 1 guy, especially in the pass catching department, but okay, can Jack Nickel show us anything on Saturday? Or will it just be Ty Neal Hopper, a transfer that's going to be that second tight end in the group? We already mentioned Ashton Lepo, Braden Miller, Christian Phillips. And then, of course, 2022 kids, God, I can't wait to see what Jeremy Bernard is going to be doing this Saturday as well. That, of course, is a joke because he transferred out of here. He is no longer with the program. But, yeah, there are a lot of exciting 2022 kids that we want to look at moving forward here. And you know what? Speaking of Jeremy Bernard, this actually goes right into our 5th storyline here is who's going to leave after this weekend? Who is out of here after this weekend? Because the transfer portal does open back up on Friday. April 15th for football is when kids can enter the portal again in the spring cycle. And, of course, way more times than not, it coincides pretty perfectly with the spring practice that happens, because as we get to the end of spring practice and by the time you have these live scrimmages, you kind of have a good feeling of where you are in this depth chart. If you are buried so far deep, it's probably the best time to hop into the portal. We've seen kids do it time and time again, not just at Michigan State, but at every single program. So with Michigan State having 2 or 3, maybe even 4 open scholarships right now before they go shopping in the spring transfer portal window, who else is going to leave and how many scholarship allotments will MSU have? That's going to be a big storyline. Let's say they can go into the spring with 6 open scholarships and they could add some more depth pieces there. I doubt that they'll add a starter in the spring transfer portal, but I've been around many a times on this podcast. But yeah, the spring transfer portal window is more so of just adding experienced depth. So we'll see how big MSU can grow that number. So, there you have it. That is what is going to be taking place this Saturday. Those are the 5 storylines. If you have any storylines that we missed or anything that you're excited for, drop that below in the comment section or email us lockedonspartans@gmail.com. So hope you guys have a great week. We will be back tomorrow. We got Anthony Ianni on the show as well. And then later on in the week, going to talk with Ryan O'Blenis of Spartans Illustrated, talk about the spring game, not just what we're going to see on the field, but also recruiting visits as well. We got some basketball recruiting coming up later this week as well. Busy week as always at Locked On Spartans. You guys are the best. Really, really do appreciate you guys watching and listening. Go enjoy the rest of your week. If you run into Tyson Walker, thank him for all of us. And yeah, let's go. There we go. Go Green. Love you all.